Now, you might be forgiven for thinking that suddenly the migrant crisis, even being covered from Dover on Channel 4 News last night, has got to the front and to the centre of the political agenda of this country. Quite right, so it should. It should have been there for a lot longer than it has been. It should have been there front and centre before it took Nigel Farage to actually get everybody excited about it, to cover what exactly is going on. I'm delighted to say we're joined today by Lee Anderson, Conservative MP for Ashfield, who is one of 23 MPs who has signed a letter in which they have asked the government to get themselves sorted out on this issue of illegal immigration, because enough is enough. And people have realised in this country that you need to react to what your constituents are saying. Lee, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the show.
Morning, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
Not at all. Thank you very much for coming on. Tell us a little bit about the group of 23. I love the name, by the way, the Common Sense Group, because we are the home of common sense here at Talk Radio. So I'm delighted to see that we've got some fellow travellers with you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Common Sense Group is made up of like-minded Conservative MPs where immigration, illegal immigration, is right at the very top of their agenda. And I'm pleased to say that my colleagues and myself and Sir John are making good progress on this. We're getting lots of support, not only in Parliament, but across the whole country. So my inbox is full of people who are saying, well done, it's about time we have some common sense.
Yes, absolutely right. And I mean, it's good that the government's now finally looking at the things that we've been talking about for ages. Change the EU laws, if that's the ones that are making us have to suffer in the way that we are. Make it impossible for these people to come here by dinghy, and get the French to do a lot more.
Well, let's have a dose of honesty for once on this subject, Mike. The vast majority of these people crossing the Channel are not genuine asylum seekers, but they are illegal immigrants who have paid good money to people traffickers. And the sooner we start calling them illegal immigrants, then the sooner we can get this problem sorted. For example, you have to pass through, I think it's 7 safe countries to get here from Syria. And let me tell you, the people in Ashfield are absolutely furious about this, as are the silent majority all over the UK.
Yes.
They should not be allowed to claim asylum here if they refuse to claim asylum in other safe countries they have passed through.
Exactly right. And we have this ridiculous kind of EU rule which is hanging around, which, since we are no longer in it, surely we should be able to ditch, shouldn't we?
Well, exactly right. I mean, what I want to know, Mike, is who are these people that are coming here? Do we know their backgrounds? No, we don't. Have they been criminals in their own country? We don't know. Have they been involved in terrorism in their own countries? We do not know. We do not know what their intentions are once they get here. And they must be returned immediately, or at the very least be detained until they can be deported. And they should not be put in hotels.
Well, we should not be spending billions and billions of pounds. I mean, I took great exception when I discovered, thanks to Nigel Farage, that Serco, one of the big companies doing it, one of 3, I should say, is into the government and public government funding to the tune of about sort of, 2 billion quid to 4 billion quid over the course of 10 years, which not only tells you that, 1, there's a gravy train going on, but also 2, that they're hoping and praying that this goes on for another 10 years.
Well, that's a lot of money, Mike, isn't it? And one thing about the illegal crossings, it's certainly been good for the tourism industry.
Yeah.
Hotels are packed, making lots and lots of money. And you're quite right. Out of the misery and suffering of people, and let's not forget, some of these people, are suffering. Out of their suffering, there are companies in this country and organisations like Serco making lots and lots of money. And that is abhorrent, really, in my opinion, and it needs to stop.
Exactly right. And there are 2 other companies who we have approached since last week to ask them what their involvement is, and they're refusing to answer us. Now, in my view, these are people who are taking public funding, they are making private profit off of taxpayers, but yet they're refusing to cooperate with investigations by us into what exactly they're doing and how much money they're costing us.
Oh, yeah, the costing is an absolute fortune, and this needs looking into. But what I want to know, Mark, is why is France so bad that people will risk their lives to leave? In fact, what is so bad all over Europe that these people pass through these safe countries and risk their lives to get to the UK? And another question I want answered is why is France allowing pregnant women and children to board boats on the Channel and risk losing their lives? They're not doing enough.
You're absolutely right. And also, what we don't know about these people is whether any of them have got the COVID-19 virus. They don't seem to be being tested, as far as I can tell.
Well, I don't know the ins and outs of that, Mike, but, I've referred to my previous point. When illegal immigrants land on these shores, they should be detained. We don't know who they are, where they've come from, and what their intentions are. So I would quite welcome some sort of detainment where we can look at their asylum claim. If they're successful, by all means, that's okay. If not, then they should go back.
Yes.
And the sooner the better.
Now, your letter is addressed to Priti Patel. It says you're grateful for the positive dialogue that has been established already. You've had, obviously, some private meetings with the Home Secretary. What can you tell us about that?
Well, what I tell you, Mike, is this problem is of our own making, really. We are a tolerant and welcoming and law-abiding nation, and that is one of our major strengths. But on this occasion, our major strength has become a weakness, and this has been exploited by illegal immigrants and the gangs. They're charging thousands and thousands of pounds to get us in. I tell you, the Priti is absolutely furious about this, and she's doing all she can. But she's pretty much hamstringed by these international laws, asylum laws, the maritime laws, which involves picking up people in the Channel. So, but, you know, we've got to give her all the support we can as backbench MPs to make sure we stop this happening in the future.
Well, because I think the risk to the Tory party, and I say this as somebody who has been a great supporter of this government, you know, it's very dangerous territory to get into, because more and more people that I know who are listening to this show, they're writing to their MPs, they're asking to get information to say, can you please tell us whether there are any illegal immigrants being housed in my constituency that you know of that we are paying for? And there's an awful lot of MPs who are not answering those letters. And I'm really delighted that you're able to come on here and sort of set the record straightly, because this is a dangerous thing for the Tory party and a Tory government if they don't sort this out.
Absolutely, Mike. You know, I get stopped in the street now, and that's, you know, what you're doing. What are you doing, mate? I have to tell them I'm doing my best as the MP for Ashfield, and MPs up and down the country are getting behind us, getting behind the Common Sense group. But I would urge people, contact your MPs. Don't moan on Facebook or social media or Twitter. Get in touch with your MP. Ring their office. Give them a tough time. Write in and make us earn our money. Because at the moment, I think some of us are letting you down. So get in touch with us and badger us till we get this sorted.
As far as you understand it, I mean, we don't know the numbers specifically. Nigel Farage said he thinks there's about 48,000 illegal immigrants being housed around the country in hotels. That number sounds about right to us. Serco say that they're in charge of about 20,000. But, I mean, over the course of the last few years, we could be talking hundreds of thousands, couldn't we?
Well, we could. I mean, we don't know the figures, do we? And that's quite shocking, actually. And, you know, this recent episode of the crossings has actually highlighted it even more. And we do really need to get this sorted. You know, we got elected on a ticket of being strong on immigration, protecting our borders, taking back control, all these things that resonated with some of our first-time voters, actually. That went from Labour to Conservative, and we must deliver on this. We must sort this out. This is so important.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right. And so as far as sort of this week's actions are concerned, as I said, we've got Chris Shilp going over to France to talk to the French. We've got Priti Patel out looking on the English Channel yesterday to see how things were going. I believe there was a plane patrolling over, an Atlas plane patrolling over the Channel as well. It does feel as though something is changing.
Yeah, it is changing. And like I say, we are sometimes a country that's too tolerant, too welcoming, too law-abiding sometimes. We always try and do the right thing. But I've got some solutions in that France really needs to stop these boats leaving the French shores in the first place. When these boats are picked up in the Channel, they should be returned immediately back to France.
Yeah.
And you know, these traffickers, you know, if I had my way, these traffickers would be locked up for life.
Yeah.
Not only are they promoting illegal activity, they're risking people's lives. They're creating social problems and division in our country. And actually, they're supplying more victims for modern-day slavery. Yeah. This is a disgusting and vile trade, and they need locking up.
And I agree with you completely, 100%. But what do you say to people like Gary Lineker, those people who like to virtue signal on social media, talking about how we should be a welcoming country and that the people who don't want to see these desperate people coming here should be ashamed of themselves? What do you say to him?
Well, I've got some good news for Gary Lineker this morning. If he wants to email me, his full name, address, postcode, and details of the accommodation that he currently resides on, I will make sure that's available for the next boat of illegal immigrants to come and live in. Bed and breakfast, of
Oh, of course, that would be wonderful. I'm sure he'd be delighted to host those people, Lee. But this is the ridiculous nature of these kind of people, isn't it? You know, they wouldn't want anywhere near a camp of any kind. They wouldn't want any hotels nearby to be renting rooms out to Serco so they could house illegal immigrants in there. You know, they just say these things because it makes them think that people will think well of them.
Yes, absolutely. It's the liberal left again, Mike, virtue signalling, trying to say all the right things, trying to tweet out the right messages on social media to look popular. But I tell you what, it's not popular because the silent majority in this country are right behind the common sense group.
Yes, absolutely right. Lee, listen, you are making the Tory party popular again just by the way you're speaking. But, you know, can you have a word with some of those guys in Downing Street? It seems to have forgotten that the people who elected you want to hear your sorts of conservatism more than they want to hear this kind of watered down version.
Well, the one thing I have learned since being an MP, Mike, is things, because I've also been a councillor as well, things happen very, very slow in government. It's very frustrating. But I'm sure my colleagues will get this sorted. I know Pretty's working damn hard to get this sorted. And I'm right behind her and the common sense group are. We're going to get it done.
Great stuff. Lee, thank you very much indeed. That's Lee Anderson, Conservative MP for Ashfield. I think restoring faith in all of us about what this Tory government is all about what this Tory party is all about, because Lee Anderson, as you've just heard, talks the talk, and he walks the walk as well. It's the Common Sense Group. We are the Common Sense radio station. In fact, we are the home of Common Sense right here on the Independent Republic of Mike Graham. I'm actually encouraged now, because of people like Lee Anderson and the Common Sense Group, a group of 23 MPs who have written to Priti Patel, who are now going to make it happen and get it done and stop this madness, this ridiculous, crazy notion that anyone from any part of the world can come and live in Britain just because they want to. Doesn't work like that.